guys, and welcome back to my channel. The case that I'm going to be looking into today is the unsolved disappearance of a woman called Tammy Leppert. Tammy Lynn Leppert was born on the 5th of February in 1965 to mother Linda Curtis. I could not find her father's name, unfortunately. She was from the US and she went missing under mysterious circumstances at the age of 18. She was an American child and teen model, actress, as well as a beauty queen. She had, from being so young, she had these massive dreams of becoming an actress, and she had been planning on doing so for a very long time. Now, her mother Linda actually owned an agency for theatre and modelling called Galaxy Model Workshop, and was really known to turn people from like these beautiful little pageant winners into stars. So, you know, that is what her daughter wanted to do and where she was going. And it was a natural progression for Tammy to do so, because by the age of 4, she was in these pageants, she was winning them, and I mean all the time. And by the age of 16, she had gone into 300 pageants and won 280 of them, which is kind of insane. She only lost 20 of them, and that to me is just madness. And I believe even on one occasion, Tammy actually won a pageant, but the wrong little girl's name was called out. And so she goes up, she receives the crown, and then Tammy later finds out that she actually won. And just as a show of how amazing of a person Tammy actually was, she didn't try and argue and try and get the crown back for herself, because she was the rightful winner. You know, she wanted this little girl to have it. She literally said, well, she deserves it because they called her name out and she should win it, kind of thing. So, you know, it just shows what kind of a lovely person she was. She was beautiful, she was talented, and she was such a genuinely nice girl. So I believe initially Tammy got her foot in the door with acting, with doing like little commercials and things like that. Before that, she was a model, but it wasn't modeling that she wanted to do. Her dream was to become an actress. Now, she didn't want to do it apparently for the money, for the fame. She just wanted to do it because that was her passion, and that was what she wanted to do from being little, and she was just going to do it. It seemed like she had all the means to be very successful. And initially in the pageants, you know, her mother quickly realised that a large segment of like a pageant would be a talent bit, and in that she would show off her acting skills, you know, so that was more likely that she would be noticed. And she worked at it, and eventually she did end up getting a role in the film Spring Break. Now, it wasn't a major role, it was a pretty small role, but I believe on the poster of Spring Break, you can actually see, like, I'll put the picture up and then it doesn't really need an explanation, but the body you see on it, it doesn't show her face, but it was actually Tammy's body. So she did a part in the film. She was really good at it. Again, it was only a small part, but that didn't matter. It was a step in the door. It was a step in the right direction. And then they go to this party afterwards as like a celebratory party. This party was a massive mystery and still is today. Nobody knows where it was held. Nobody knows what went on in it. Nobody knows nothing about this party. And it's just a massive mystery. We don't know who was there. We don't know whether it was people from the movie, which you can assume that it was, because they were all going out celebrating the movie. So you're thinking that people probably from the set were going to this, you know, going to have a party and celebrate. But again, we just don't know. You can probably assume that that was the case. And therefore, Tammy was not there with her normal friends, you know, her normal group of people that she would hang out with. It would be these people from this movie set. So you're thinking that Tammy doesn't really know anyone there. She was new to that set. She probably didn't really know the people there either very well, to the point where you can hang out with somebody and enjoy yourself at a party. So she's probably wandering around, and it is thought that she stumbled across something that she shouldn't have. And very unfortunately too. Because Tammy went into the party her normal, bubbly, outgoing self, you know, full of confidence, and she came out a completely different person. She was suddenly so fearful all the time. She was panicking, she was worried, she was paranoid, she didn't want to leave the house anymore. It was just a complete flip of personality, which makes you do believe that maybe she did actually see something at that party that made her scared for her life. So there's also the aspect that, you know, maybe she was suffering from something, mental health issues that were undiagnosed or something like that. it just seems pretty weird that it happened straight after this party. And Tammy did mention things in this party. You know, I'll go through them later on. So it just makes it very strange for mental health issues just to crop up after this party occurred with everything she said. It's just, I'm not saying that it isn't possible, but I'm just saying that it's, you know, very coincidental if that's the case. But Tammy would, again, she would be housebound. She wouldn't want to leave the house. She was frightened to death. She literally wouldn't even eat food that wasn't prepared by herself. She would only ever eat off other people's plates if that was the case, because she thought someone was trying to poison her. So if you assume that they make the food for her, put the poison in that food, she didn't feel safe eating that because she thought that was the case. So she'd eat somebody else's who was already eating, and therefore it would negate the risk of her being poisoned by someone. Honestly, it was really bad. That, to me, it could be a mental health break, don't get me wrong, but I lean more towards the fact that she had seen something that she, you know, didn't want to and shouldn't have. Wrong place, wrong time kind of thing. There's other things that tie that in as well for me. Her mum didn't really understand what was going on with Tammy. You know, she was always so outgoing and full of life, and now she's suddenly in the house panicking about people poisoning her. Like, where does that come from? Where as a mother do you stand, especially when she's not telling you anything? So it was only after Tammy actually said to her, if I told you somebody was trying to kill me, would you believe me? And she's like shocked, confused, and says to her, well, is there someone trying to kill you? And she replied yes. So Linda pushed her, tried to figure out, you know, why did she feel suddenly like someone was trying to kill her? And Tammy just would never say. She never really said as to why. And that is why it's believed that by many people, that she saw something at that party that she shouldn't have. She didn't want to tell her mother because she was frightened to death that somebody would do something to her, and therefore she kept it all a secret. I believe she did tell Linda that she saw something unspeakable, but that was it. You know, she didn't go into detail. She didn't say anything else. And she carried on being paranoid, just not leaving the house. Reclusive is the word that I'm looking for there. Reclusive. And her mother even felt like she kind of lost touch with reality a little bit as well. But what really could a mother do? So she wouldn't tell her why she felt like this or the reason behind it. And she's wondering if she's having a mental breakdown because she doesn't have a reason to give her. Like if she said, I've seen someone murdered and they're going to kill me because I've seen it, or something like that, that is a massive reason as to believe someone's going to kill you. But she's not telling her. She's not saying anything. And mental health issues are rife with, you know, us humans. We suffer greatly with them, and it is unfortunate and very sad, but we do. So, and they can just pop up at any point in your life, you know. You may never have suffered with it before, or may have suffered slightly with it and it's gone undetected, and then just boom, one day it hits you like massively. So that's what she's thinking, I'm guessing, at this point. That is, did she actually see something, or is she suffering from mental health? So it basically goes on for 2 weeks, and then she lands this big role in a film called Scarface. Many of you may be familiar with it. This was 1983. Her role, again, was pretty small, but would open, you know, potentially open the door to a lot bigger things. And again, you've got to start out at the bottom, gradually work your way up to the top. So she was doing all these little roles, but Scarface is like a massive film, so she probably would have been highly recognised from that. It was such a massive opportunity for her, and she took the job. You can see in this picture I'm putting up right now, she's in the blue swim costume, and her role was to be this, you know, beautiful young woman who ended up distracting someone in this getaway car during a robbery. So she goes down to Miami, which is where it was actually being filmed, which it wasn't too far away from her home, but it was far enough that she needed to stay down there. Like, she's not going to travel up in there. It wasn't that close. So she ended up staying with a friend down in Miami and filming for Scarface. I believe it was 2 hours away. So yeah, it's not a small journey to keep traveling to and from. This family friend was called Walter Lubowitz. Apologize if I've said that wrong. So she's filming away, and I believe she was one of the youngest people there, and, you know, she was a very attractive woman, so she was getting a lot of attention from people. And then she's stood on set one day watching this film this scene be filmed, and I believe it involved like blood, gore, murder, or a death, or something along those lines. Anyway, I've not actually watched the film. Sorry for all you Scarface fans out there, I've never seen it. But yeah, so she's watching this scene play out, and she absolutely loses it. There was loud noises. I believe it was actually a shooting scene. So, you know, there would have been a bang, there would have been a blood splatter. Fake blood, of course. You know, it wasn't real blood, it was a film. It was all fake and it was all set up, but it triggered something in Tammy. She started freaking out. And this was only the 4th day filming on set. So, you know, they weren't that far into it. And she just began crying hysterically. She just broke down. The cast members ended up taking her to a trailer to try and calm her down. You know, it was awful. They'd hoped basically to calm her down that they could then carry on filming, but that didn't happen. She carried on crying, screaming. She was going on about how someone wanted to kill her and how her life was in danger. And she was terrified. Obviously, the film crew and the directors and things didn't have a clue what Tammy was going on about at this point. So they ring the person that she was staying with to come and get her, which was Walter, obviously. Walter, I believe they advised Walter to maybe take her to a hospital or a police station, because if somebody was actually trying to kill her, that it needed to be resolved, kind of thing. So he does end up coming for her, and she starts crying and telling him that someone's going to kill her, and that it has something to do with money laundering and the fact that she wasn't able to hide from them. And again, Walter didn't really have a clue what was going on, so he ends up calling Linda, her mother, and basically tells her what's been going on. Now, obviously, everyone was really worried about her. She ends up quitting her role in that job because at this point she needs some sort of help, whether it be police help if somebody is trying to kill her, or help from professionals if she is having a mental breakdown. She needs help no matter what, and she needs to go home for that help. So Linda does end up encouraging Tammy to file a police report, that if somebody is trying to kill her daughter, that they need to know, and that she could be protected by them. Linda said that she thought that Tammy mentioned everything to the police, but did actually fail to mention that she was afraid for her own life. So now it was very obvious that Tammy felt like she couldn't say anything to anyone. She probably believed at this point that nobody could help her and there was nothing that anybody could do. And obviously Linda is thinking that, is it something to do with, again, somebody actually out to kill my daughter, or is she having a mental health breakdown? Not really knowing what else to do at this point, having encouraged her to go to the police, but then her not really saying anything, she goes down the other route. And she does actually spend some time in a mental health facility. Now, before that, I just want to mention that they actually had a friend staying with them at the time, called Wing Flanagan, and this friend was sort of witness to Tammy's delusions, to how erratic she was behaving. He basically said that she would have her good days where she was pretty much back to herself, but then she would have these really bad days where she was just like so frightened and paranoid about everything. And of course, she never told him what was happening either. On the 2nd of June in 1983, Tammy went outside of her house for some reason. It isn't known why. Maybe it was just to have a look around to see whether there was somebody out there who wanted to get her, because again, that's what she felt like. But she ends up going outside, and the door actually shuts behind her, and it is an automatic lock, so she ends up being locked outside. Now she absolutely panics. She goes mad. She's trying to get in the house again. She's frightened to death, thinking that someone's going to get her. And she ends up seeing a bat and ends up literally smashing one of her own windows to get inside the house again. I think I read somewhere, please don't quote me on this, that she ended up hitting her mother with the bat at one point. I may be wrong on that, and I apologise if I am, but I'm sure I've read it somewhere that she was. And her mother was just trying to calm her down. Linda ended up getting a hold of her. She's swinging around this bat, and she ends up getting a hold of her and trying to calm her down, which took a long time, actually. She just kept saying to her, "It's okay, I love you," over and over and over again. And then, probably exhausted and utterly panicked at her wit's end, she ended up falling into her mother's arms. So, having handled that incident, and again, not really knowing what to do, she ends up thinking along the lines of, okay, we managed to handle that one, but what if something similar happens again? What if I can't protect my daughter or myself? And she ends up finally checking her into a mental health facility. She gets a checkup, full physical, They go through every test that they could think of, whether she's on drugs or anything like that. They all come back clean. And after a 72-hour evaluation, which is all that they can keep people for that don't show signs of any mental health issues, which she didn't while she was there, she showed nothing. She was completely back to her normal self, pretty much. And so they had no reason to keep her in any longer than that. They found nothing, and she ended up being released after 72 hours. Then a month later, on Wednesday the 6th of July, Tammy was just sat in her mother's house when Linda hears this car horn outside. It was about 11 a.m. and Tammy gets up and tells her mother that she's going out and that she will see her in a little bit. She gets in the car and off they drive. Now, obviously this was pretty strange for Linda because Tammy had been very reclusive recently and very feared and paranoid and scared of everything, and then she just suddenly gets up and leaves. Now, she said that her daughter was always very well presented, and again, she was a stunning young girl. She would always, at the very least, if not more, brush her hair when she left that house, and she didn't even do that. She didn't even brush her hair, she just got up and she left. Now, Linda found out that the person that actually picked her up was one of her friends called Keith Roberts. Apparently, Tammy had called him up to come and collect her. She said that she needed some help. Now, bearing in mind, this friend, Linda has actually said that Tammy was frightened of. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but apparently she was frightened of him. But apparently Tammy rang him and he travelled 2 hours to try and help her. Apparently they decided that they were going to go to Cocoa Beach to have a conversation, but then they ended up in some sort of argument. I believe that Tammy actually wanted him to drive her a further 2 hours. So he travelled 2 hours to go and get to her, and then she wanted to go a further 2 hours and he didn't want to do it, so they ended up having some sort of argument. I believe he did actually give her $300 in cash. You know, she needed to lend some money. He lent her that, but then they had this argument and he ended up dropping her off in the parking lot of Glass Bank. It was only 5 miles away from her house. I believe Tammy, like, after this argument, she just told him to pull over, and obviously he did. The strange thing is, apparently Tammy didn't have her shoes with her or her purse when she left that car, which I do not understand. I don't know whether that is actually true or not, but I have read it. So, but why would she leave a car without her shoes? No, nobody would. I don't know. But apparently this was the last time that Tammy was seen. You know, he saw her there, she got out of the car and off. They separated and off they went. Another interesting aspect of this case was that actually the day before she went missing, she ended up going out with a friend called Rich Adams, and she also told him that someone was indeed trying to kill her, and as a result of that they ended up going to this chapel to pray. Apparently after that she was hysterically crying to her friend, and he said that he didn't believe she was under, or at least she didn't appear to be under the influence of drugs or alcohol or anything like that. She also told him on that night that she would be going away for a while, and he didn't really think much of it, didn't think it was strange because she was supposed to be going to California for some movies and things like that, so he just figured that it was that and that it was nothing peculiar. Apparently Rick was never really contacted by the police. His story was never really corroborated. I don't know the reasoning behind that, but I guess the police did have a reason for that. Who knows at this point? But it did come as a massive shock to her family because, you know, she's saying that she's going to go away for a while and then the next day she's gone and missing, and it was weird. Her mom got really worried because, you know, she didn't hear of her. Tammy was not really known to go out and not tell her where she was for long periods of times. It was just out of character for her, so she did end up reporting her daughter as missing. I believe that the case file, they had tried to file it on the 6th and it wasn't actually done until the 11th for some reason or another, but the police pretty much just thought she was a runaway. Apparently another interesting aspect of this case was that Tammy contacted her aunt, Ginger Kolsch, on the night that she went missing. She said she tried to call her 3 times. Obviously Ginger was not home, so she didn't answer. It just got to answer phone. But she said that Tammy sounded very frantic, that she was calling from a payphone, and that she was in a panic state, basically. Now, these calls have been lost over the years. There's no sort of evidence of them now. You can't actually listen to them or anything like that. And she didn't really give her aunt any information or you know, it was just sort of the state that she was in. She didn't really tell her aunt anything that she hadn't already told everyone else. You know, that she didn't say anything about who was trying to kill her or anything like that. The police looked and looked, but nothing was ever found on Tammy. We still do not know what happened to Tammy to this day. There's obviously theories in the case. At first, the police focused their efforts on Keith Roberts, since, you know, he was like the last person to see her and stuff. And with the rumours of her being afraid of him, you know, that just kind of amplified it all. But there's nothing really ever come of that. You know, he's never been sort of named as like a main suspect in the case or anything like that. There was also a theory of like a serial killer that was active in the 80s, but again, there's no real information that connects with that. There was also evidence of a violent sexual offender active during the 70s and 80s. They was also suspected in the case, but in 2002 ended up taking his own life and was never tied into Tammy's case at all. Then in 1985, police who were handling Tammy's case ended up getting these weird phone calls. It was from a woman that claimed that Tammy was actually doing really well. She was alive, she was well, and she was living out her dreams of becoming a nurse. Now, not once have I read anywhere that Tammy had dreamed of becoming a nurse. Whether she was still alive and well and had changed her mind on a career aspect, you know, through life, could be possible, but it was just weird. I believe that was over 2 phone conversations. This person rang twice. But like I've already said, her dream was to become an actress, unless she was trying to hide. Again, if she's feared for her life and she's trying to hide from someone, she's not going to be on the big screens and, you know, having a face everywhere she is. So maybe she thought that nursing would be more, I don't know, a career where she wouldn't be found. Who knows? These phone calls basically gave her family hope that she was still alive, which is, you know, that's also a fair theory, is that she did run away because she was scared for her life. Or maybe she was suffering from mental health issues, which again is another theory. And she just panicked and ran away, and either one of those could apply to that, basically, that she left of her own accord, either because she was suffering with delusions and mental health and she just couldn't take it anymore and felt like someone was trying to kill her, or somebody actually was trying to kill her and she just needed to get away and hide. Unfortunately, Linda has since passed away and never actually found out what happened to her daughter, and to this day we don't know where Tammy is or what happened to her. Her sister still runs a blog where she puts information out there and she urges people to share her sister's case and just to try and give any information that may be important to a case, and just anything really to try and find what happened to her sister. So yeah, if you do know anything on Tammy's case, please do call the authorities with any little bit of information. It could be so important in solving the case. As of now though, Tammy's case remains unsolved. That is the end of this case. If you guys have enjoyed the video, give me a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for similar content. Anyway, that's all I have today on the case of Tammy Leppert. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye!